What is going on, my fellow ghosts? It is the Blind Prophet, and today we're going to be talking about that Ghost of Tsushima State of Play showcase that broke YouTube. No, but seriously, that showcase was incredible and a lot to unravel, so without further hesitation, let's get right into this one. Sucker Punch really threw a lot on the table this time with their State of Play showcase, and it was just that, a showcase. Everything from the various game mechanics to even a cinematic mode, which imitated the aesthetic of a traditional samurai movie, were all presented in the 18-minute video. I wanted to first touch on how incredible this game looks. In our current age of visual technology, we can make stunning worlds that look incredibly real and immersive. However, Ghost of Tsushima takes a stylized approach that almost feels like stepping into a Japanese painting. It's breathtaking, and can be both gorgeous as well as gruesome, depending on where Jin is. Speaking of where Jin is, a really unique mechanic was shown that utilizes the wind as a sort of waypoint system. The game doesn't seem to feature a traditional minimap or even compass, so it relies on this system of calling on a gust of wind and other natural elements to guide us and Jin to points of interest, which I found extremely creative and could help us with immersion, as we won't have an obnoxious icon on the screen that we are fixed on, and could explore the world more freely and get distracted by the world more easily. The actual map itself looked very cool, with a sort of ink-painted aesthetic. Our trusty steed, Nobu, makes a return in this video, who we've covered in a previous video, but he or she isn't the only wildlife that was shown, as there are several interesting animal events that happen. Firstly, a scuffle of sorts between what seemed to be a bear and two villagers. It was a very quick moment that was passed, but we can see one of the villagers hurled in the air as Jin and Nobu pass it, and looked to be a moment where we could maybe have intervened as a Japanese witcher of sorts. Further down the path, we are also joined by a beautiful yellow bird, and it is explained that, like the wind, birds could lead us to points of interest, like hidden locations, and this again seemed amazing. I'm currently playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and the whole map is littered with question marks, hinting to interesting locations, but the feeling that you're actually exploring these locations and finding them is sort of killed by the question marks, as you expect to find these locations, rather than stumble upon them. So this system of having a sort of guide animal that you can encounter on your travels feels incredibly ingenious, and it's accompanied later on by a fox that carries a similar task of being able to show you shrines that, when honored, give you a progression to unlocking ability slots. Just a beautiful way to let the world be a character that can be truly interacted with. We also briefly see Jin playing a flute atop a mountain of sorts, and this could have been a number of things. The camera was drawn out almost as if it's an idle animation that could play out. Again, returning to Odyssey, similar to when idle Icaros, your companion eagle, will fly down and rest on your forearm. Or it could also be an actual playable instrument, similar to what we saw of Ellie playing the guitar in The Last of Us Part 2, or even more similarly when Link plays the ocarina in The Legend of Zelda. It was just really cool to see nonetheless, and I'm an extremely musical person and love when instruments are included in games, especially surprisingly in a game like this, where a lone samurai tries to help his country fight off an invading force, but still manages to find time to blow a few tunes through his shakuhachi. Right after the clip of Jin playing the flute, we are introduced to the different playstyles, starting with the samurai playstyle. The thing that immediately excited me was how this playstyle is focused heavily on honor. Jin can approach his enemies face to face, one-on-one, and neutralize them accordingly, even making use of his bow. There was so much in this engagement with the Mongols I loved, from the weight that Jin's body carries with every strike of his katana, the Mongol briefly acknowledging his comrade's death in front of him, Jin deflecting oncoming arrows and the way the arrows flail uncontrollably to the floor. But none was more amazing and subtle than the bow of respect that Jin gives the final opponent after striking him down. It was a beautiful detail that stops the game and reminds you that you just took someone's life. Then we are introduced to the Ghost playstyle, the complete opposite of the Samurai playstyle. This approach focused heavily on the stealth and taking your enemy's life discreetly. We've seen this approach shown several times, so there wasn't much shown that was very different, other than the inclusion of a smoke bomb and a Mongol falling in fear of Jin and trying to crawl away. I found the last part actually really cool and unique, as I've never really seen a mechanic like this in a game. Not only does this Mongol fall and try to back away, but his comrade just flat out runs away from the scene altogether. So it's just quite refreshing seeing someone be actually scared and fearful of you, rather than just countless waves of enemy thinking they can take you on. After this, Jin proceeds to sabotage a boat with Mongol supplies, and we are introduced to Jin's customization, which looks very extensive and seems to play into the game's mechanics based on what you adorn Jin with. You can also color certain pieces of your gear by collecting flowers in true Minecraft fashion, but this is something I hope can be reversed or colored multiple times, that way we don't get stuck with a color we don't like. We were also given a tour of the very detailed photo mode, which might consume more of our time than the game itself, with the extensive array of options at our disposal for creating that perfect in-game shot. I know with games like Horizon Zero Dawn and Spider-Man PS4, I always found myself stopping the game just to take a quick photo that ended up turning into a whole photography session, and Ghost of Tsushima looks like it'll be the same. After the photo mode walkthrough, we see what the Japanese voice track looks like in action, and then we are shown probably the coolest thing about the game. Sucker Punch has included what they are calling Samurai Cinema, which gives us the option to visually alter the game with a filter that imitates that of old school samurai films. This is an awesome touch, as these films that they are trying to capture the visual essence of with this filter are heavy influences on the game itself, and the game is a sort of homage to them. However, I don't know if I'd use the filter myself just because of how beautiful the world and color palette is. It'd be a shame to mask it with this filter, even with how authentic it would feel, but maybe I could throw it on for a second playthrough. This pretty much concluded everything they showcased during the 18-minute video, and it was amazing. A definitely much needed demo with everything that has been delayed, and even with most recently Ubisoft and Xbox's AC Valhalla gameplay first look. Sucker Punch and PlayStation couldn't have done this at a better time. My only real afterthoughts on the video itself and what were shown was if the different playstyles will affect the game world and or outcome. This is Sucker Punch after all, and their most recent franchise, the Infamous series, was built on the choice to use your powers for good or evil, and that had a considerable impact on several aspects of the game. So I wonder if that carries over into Ghost of Tsushima, with how you can choose to be honorable samurai or a feared ghost. We will have to find out ourselves when it drops July 17th. What are your thoughts though? How do you feel after watching this demo? Are you more excited, or are you now jumping on board with the game? Let's talk about it in the comment section down below, as I love engaging with you all. But as always, stay hydrated, let them pass in peace, and Excelsior.
I made the best sidecars in the world.